Welcome back, beautiful people, amazing human being. Your coach AF is back from kind of entrepreneurial vacation, taking care of clients. So this is the pre-show to warm up a little bit, to welcome you back. And we are going to have an interesting episode 34 of the Fredo blooper at the beginning on the Friday Live Agile. Yes, my great friend. The music of the background is from Chill Your Mind of the Agile Lounge way of doing things with music. Welcome the already 6-7 people. I don't know where you are right now, so that's what I'm going to do right now just to warm up. This new tool that I again and unleashed. So let's see, are we on Twitter? Let's see if we are on Twitter with the sound. And anybody in the comment below, please tell me, do you hear me well? Is the music too loud? Everything I'm expecting to know this for this live stream. I need your help, please. And we're going to see about this on the Agile Agnostic oath that it's really important to ask for help. So Twitter, it's good. Let's now go welcome the people of LinkedIn, our people on LinkedIn there on this beautiful Friday, September the 10th, 2021, with your coach AF for you on this Friday Live Agile. And we are going also to record the episode 29 for the 4,000 joggers of the Dare Real Agile Podcast. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful. And I'm so happy to be alive in this day and age. So let's see now, are we on the beautiful LinkedIn? Yes, we are. Do we have song? Everything is going beautiful. I love it. So today we are going to have a very great colleague of mine. I used to, when I talk about him, I'm always saying that he is the one or the best project manager, the most open project manager I had the chance and the pleasure to meet in my great career. So I'm going to knock off the music now as we are live on Twitter of Agile Lounge for Business Agility, as well as LinkedIn as a beta mode. So you could chat everywhere, and we are going to take probably some time at the end of the show in about an hour to go see your question or comment about our great honest conversation that we're going to have. But before having my friend and colleague with me, I would like to actually explain what is the Agile Agnostic movement a little bit. So let's see it on screen visually like a training. Okay, here it is. And let me also push the button for the Dare Real Agile podcast right now. It's always unscripted, and this is the magic of life because you have to be authentic and right on the spot. So we could make mistake, right? And we are going to see actually that yes, we could actually make mistake. So welcome everybody. I welcome my 4,000. Yes, there is 4,000 people right now on the Dare Real Agile multi-platform. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are also on Deezer, Spotify for sure. Lately, Samuel Ball, my marketing guru, he put me on the Amazon Prime podcast. So we are truly everywhere. And I challenge you, if you go into the Google stuff, you could actually, when you say just Dare Real Agile, you could see we are everywhere. And then I would like to also welcome the 27 new subscribers on my growing YouTube channel of Agile Lounge for Business Agility. And so I'm very thankful of it, especially after 3 weeks of not doing any Friday Live Agile. And I welcome a lot of people now from Northern Europe, Australia, India and Brazil are still the most member. And I realize and I discover with exchanging with people on Instagram and Telegram that is a growing movement of great engineer that adopt the DevOps with a Scrum into Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, and Mexico for sure. So this will be a topic probably I would like to cheer them up. But today we talked about the Agnostic Agile. All the link will be in the description of the YouTube video, and later on we're gonna comment it also on LinkedIn and Twitter for you to find it. But if you do Agnostic Agile, you will surely find it. So I won't go too much into the why, but I was one of the first signatory of this back in 2017 when it's launched. And what interests me when I speak with my colleague, other Scrum Master, Agile Coach, as well as Project Manager, that the one-size-fits-all approach is a frustrating antithesis to what it means to be agile. Yes, and to strive with agility, that was important for us. So the origin is, it was founded in London in 2016 and published in 2017. And I was among the first 500, 600 to sign it. And it's a global community movement for the betterment of Agile practitioner. Yes. Again, you could see my video about to be or to do Agile. This is not the real question. This is not the real question. The thing is, you are adopting a mindset, the set of values and principles of the Agile Manifesto for software development that has evolved now with business agility, with open business agility to the entire enterprise, right? With the enterprise Scrum, among other things. And so you see the practitioner from all over the world, and you could be anyone, any consultant, any change manager, anyone who embrace the sets of value and principle to create the smarter and the best patterns to actually unleash a valuable and meaningful deliverable to your customer. Because yes, let's remember the thing, the Agile movement by itself, it's the real lean thinking. The equation is the lean thinking, plus we add on to this the customer collaboration, the customer participation. So you have to be in the Agile mindset. You have to be Agile and embrace this, and then you will do things. So you practice these things. So they have like 13 principles. I love it. I think they add on, and I see a typo. We should say to them. And I won't read it to you. You could read it by yourself. And of course, with my discussion with my colleague later, Joey Perugino, we're gonna talk about this into our different way of world, what could be hybrid, what could not be hybrid. And it's going to be a free talk, an open talk, as you know. It doesn't have a script. I doesn't have a script. But of course, there's the core team of this today, Dare Real Agile Podcast, as well as the Friday Live here on YouTube, talked about these 13 principles. It's an oath. And you see it's opening, sorry about that, it's opening by to put my customer first, making them independent. Yes, the autonomy of this Agile movement mindset with principle and value. So it's very, so we don't care about framework. And we discover also, I did discover after 21 years of doing Scrum, that Scrum is not even a framework. It's a system that could help you enabling frameworks. Oh yes, you hear it. That's why Spotify has their own model based on the Scrum values and the Scrum system. A system like Scott Adams used to remind us, it's a system for winners and goals for losers. I'm sorry, we are bold. Yes, welcome to the Dare Real Agile. And one of the added principle goes into what's going on with the world of open business agility. It's to embrace diversity without compromise. So that's a very interesting topic, I think, for the day and age we're in right now with all of these bias, discrimination, and so on. And one thing when you sign the oath, that you have to recognize that there is more to Agile than Agile. Yes, and Agile, again, is not a thing you buy, it's a thing you are, and it's a thing that you spark people to embrace these values and patterns, to create the great patterns to us. So to give the community as it has given to me. And it's also, that's why we had created the Scrum Beer here as a user group to share with people, to make networking and everything. So, you know, it's all movement of evolution. And I really love that collective that I met in London in 2018 also. And this is very a great community of diverse professional and you could see the almost 3,000 original signees of 2017 after the publish. And just to tell you, one of my other great colleagues that I love so much, Michael Billis, he was there. He's actually the one who talked to me about it And of course, after the list, you could probably recognize some other names here, like Frédéric Dumouchia, I salute you. We have Shane Weller, I salute you. So it's all part of the network of the Montreal Agile type of things. And I'm going to see if I'm still there. And probably, yes, I am there. It's 6:32, Alexandre Joly. So you see, so that was like a great bunch of people. I wonder though if if they all still practice it. I'll have to admit that when I rant against SAFE, I'm not respecting one of those 13 principles, because being agnostic, I should not comment. But this is too much, because my mentor and my main community of Agile Boston and Scrum Alliance and so on, we aim to the real thing, the real McCoy and the stuff. So that's Agile Agnostic oath, yes. And what is going on with the fact that maybe, yes, sometimes we could be vocal and have an opinion on something, but you have to be based on empirical fact and experimenting. So when I think Mike Beadle and some others of the business agility community were coming back in 2016, just prior to this oath, and even after the oath, like with those papers of Agile is dead because of the Agile industrial complex, pushed forward by this SAFE, the Scale Agile framework. So, and they saw on it that it was not even lean, it was not even agile. They were scrapping the principle. They were kind of inverted the four main value. So, yes, I signed the oath. I might be in delinquents of one of the 13 principles to say that you will not kind of speak mad about frameworks, but that's my only exception. So I'm guilty, but the true science of consultancy, of teaching people, coaching people, have to make me say that, again, SAFE is not agile, is not even lean, is not even Scrum. And I wonder what are the PME people think about it. The PMI, sorry, people, because is it also a great project management tool? I don't know, because I've been away from the classical process of it. But today, I would like to have this great conversation. I see Joey is already here. So let's bring him to the floor. And just before that, you see on the ticker below, I thank you, Shani, Oscar, Pietra, and Sandra for your tips. Really appreciate most of them, and Bitcoins, yes. So the link in the description, you could send me some Bitcoin to encourage me. These are voluntary tips. It's a virtual lounge. So if you like my gin, my tequila, my vodka, so you tip me just to cut the expense. I don't make money of it. It's just to show your appreciation, and why not? So people do it, and it's lot of people that I don't know from all around the world. It's amazing, and they give me Bitcoin. And about this Bitcoin thing, just prior to I welcome my guests, something amazing happened in El Salvador this week. Is the first nation ever to experiment with a legal tender to pay in Bitcoin. Of course, this is not mandatory. People could still use US dollars or other devices, but the government has made it possible for people, the legal tender now in El Salvador, and I'm betting that other countries and development, because the movement, that's the equation. 2001, we saw the Agile software with Agile movement of creating best value for the experience of customer. And then in 2008-9, with the white paper of Satoshi, become this movement of decentralization, again, for the people experience, a better experience, and especially in these countries of Central America and Africa, when you don't have access to bank accounts. So the Bitcoin and the blockchain protocol not only give you security and privacy, but give access to people who, without it, they won't be able to make transaction and exchange. So for all of you out there who think that Bitcoin is an investment, it is not. It was an alternative exchange away from the centralization. And I think and I believe that the open business agility movement as well, it's something like that. into the human interaction, the substantion, because substantion in physics is the interrelation between the numbers of element in physics, and we could apply it to the human behavior and the human interaction. When you build team, for instance, when you try to scale a great habit and a great pattern throughout the enterprise. So for me, this is it. And a little note, because I already did a live on it, the Scrum Beer will take a break for this month, the end of September. Don't expect the usual sprint cycle of having a Scrum Beer. So Scrum Beer number 15 will be on hold till November, because my team and I and the volunteer crew of Scrum Alliance and Agile Lounge for Business Agility, we vote 5 out of 7 that we won't do any discrimination about a medical procedure. So we are true to ourselves, to our value. We practice what we preach. So, and we decide not to do a virtual event either, because the survey that among the 300 members, about 50 people answer, 70% of them want it in person starting September. And with the in person, you know what happened right now in Montreal, as well as our user group in New York, Manhattan. It's even worse. So we decided to take a break to come back in November with an innovative way of meeting in person without discrimination. It is not our business to see if you had or not a medical procedure. This is what we believe, and we'll stand on it. So that's the message for the Scrum Beer. So yes, people wrote to me whilst I was away on vacation. Is there like a Scrum Beer this September? No, it won't, even virtually, because we'd like to come back with you with the best guest experience for the one at the end of November. Let's pray for it. So, and again, I thank everybody for following me, especially on the YouTube channel. This is where it's happening. Right now, there's about 7 listeners all across the board. You could chat, as I said, and we'll take a moment at the end, Joey and myself, to talk about your question or your comment. So welcome, Joey. You're on screen right now. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for inviting me to take part in this conversation with you, Alex.
It's actually my great pleasure of having you on my show, the Dare Real Agile, because right now you know what's happening. We are live on YouTube and LinkedIn as well as Twitter, and we are recording for my crowd of joggers. It's amazing because they wrote to me that they actually listen to me while they're doing their jogging or they're spinning and so on. So that's, I think we are going to create the jogger crew of the Dare Real Agile. So that's why today
we'll actually I ran listening to 2 of your podcasts, Alex.
Really?
And, pretty long ones, because I run I do long distances sometimes. So I listened to your, what was the one with Daniel Mezick.
Oh yeah,
that was very interesting. It's a long one. It was about a little bit more than an hour and a half, something like that. But
yes.
But I mean, I was supposed to do my Saturday long run, so it fit in perfectly with me, and I enjoyed it very much.
It's did you know Daniel Mezick before that?
I had no idea who he was, but now I want to know all about him because he's really super interesting.
Yes, he is, and he's the co-founder of the Open Leadership Network. And what I like with the people of this network is they are really applying what we kind of talk, because we could talk of whatever we want. It's an open mic. I'd like to share with you because I really appreciate the fact that a lot of people say like, oh, Scrum Master and a PM, how does it go along together? But we go along together, right?
I guess so. I mean, and I have a lot of respect for what you guys do, because as a project manager, agile project manager, often, I have to play both roles, and it's not an easy one. Leading the role to agility in organizations, I think, is it's a minefield sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very resistant, and I think in part it's because they don't understand. That's part of your agnostic thing, which I thank you for sharing with me. They don't understand what agility is supposed to be about, and I think when you try to force feed it to people without really listening, which is what a lot of organizations do, unfortunately, they come up with resistance, and people don't really become agile. They just do what they're supposed to do because that's what management wants them to do, but they're not happy about it.
No, and this is why. And what do you make of all of these papers if you come across them, especially on Medium.org, and of course people on LinkedIn will do some article about this. And especially they will say, "Oh, Agile Fail," and then Scrum is no good anymore. We should rethink it, and this and that. But they do it like to blame this mindset or these value system, and also like because as you just said, it's been forced maybe by the organization, the org level. So what's your thought on this? Like,
My personal opinion, I guess, is that it's not Scrum or Agility's fault. It's the organizations that are not pushing it through properly. When I got in project management, when I reoriented my career about 10, 15 years ago, Alex, one of the things that interested me was the whole structure, the methodology behind leading projects. I mean, when I started all of this with doing a master's degree in science of project management. Okay, and one of the things that I discovered when I was doing my thesis paper is that nobody does it right, or most people don't do it right. People have been trying to get the secret sauce to making projects work and delivering them on time and quality and
budget,
like that for 30, 40, 50 years. And, we fail miserably at it. And we still do today.
And what was, just before we're going deeper in this, what was your thesis about exactly?
My thesis was on, I guess, the implementation of project management offices and why, in most cases, they fail.
And now we don't even talk about this difference between the world of agility and classical project management. Just by itself, implementing a PMO office was you discover a lot of struggling from people and making it happen, or
I mean, it's just the overall implementing a PMO is like implementing any type of project. Okay, it's just a very large project where you're trying to bring in sort of a methodology, a way of working that will, in theory, permit project managers, scrum masters to be able to do what they do more efficiently and to meet the objectives of the organization, which is to, I guess, be profitable and to have happy clients and happy employees. The manner in which they try to go about doing it, can vary from organization to organization. But I think throughout the industry, it's the same thing. I mean, in the end, you have something that you want to do, and you want to try to do it as efficiently as possible, in as little time as possible, with as little cost as possible. You can go about it through many different ways. There's a traditional, more waterfall approach. And there's the everything in between, which is, like when I lead projects, even agile projects, I usually have a hybrid model, because I think most of the things that are pushed through, and even though I have the SAFe certification, I have the Scrum Master certification, I have the product owner certifications, I have many certifications, Alex, but I still don't believe that anyone is a true true tried and the method that will absolutely, if you follow it to the letter, permit you to be able to lead your projects well. It's always somewhere in between, and this comes
somewhere,
from 10 years of pain trying to lead projects of different sizes with different organizations, somewhat successfully. But you have to be, you have to be stubborn. You have to keep at it. You have to be patient and be ready to coach your resources and stuff like that. You have to work with management. You have to work with all the stakeholders. It's not an easy endeavor.
No, it's not. And what I realize in the workplace, the workforce also, and let's not talk about any mindset here. Just like the fact that you go to work, you have some skills, you have some superpowers, you have knowledge, and we are your youth for the fact that you're either a great designer, you're either a great accountant, you're someone great in finance, someone great in software programming, and so on. And what you say is like the project management or the lead of a project. So, and you have to build a team of those skilled people that you need. And whatever the approach will be, is it a matrix approach? Is it like a stable team and so on? And for me, I too often saw, whether you are a consultant, but especially if you are a consultant, then a permanent kind of leader or project leader into an organization, that is it like, I was questioning it when I was doing some kind of evaluation lately to a small, medium scale organization of 400 people, where actually all of their impediment seems to be around a clear vision and the integration of all of those skilled people to achieve the goal. And for them, the goal, it was not necessarily about customer experience, or as you mentioned, also the employee experience. It was more about the final product of quality, of kind of this mindset. So what would you say, like project management and whatever, what you imply in it, like how do we actually engage those people? Because if we hire them for their skills, now after there's the process. You know, the three pillars: people, process, and technology. Well, technology, you will have to adapt about the different kind of ecosystem. Then the process is something that the people should be agreed together on it. Like whatever, it's a PMO or it's an agile.
I mean, one of the things that is clear, whatever it is that you want to do, is you got to get the buy-in of the people. If you want to be able to, you have to make them part of the solution. If you want to be able to get their engagement and have them collaborate with you, believe in what you're doing. You know, so when you're trying to bring about change, and agility is a little bit about transformation and change. Doing projects is always, you're trying to put something together, do something new. If you don't get the buy-in of the people that are doing the work before you go and decide what's going to be done, you're going to get some resistance. And usually, you know, that's why some people don't embrace agility, and they blame agility or Scrum or whatever you want to call it for the fact that they're not having pleasure at working or doing whatever it is that they have to do. But it's not the system's fault. Sometimes it's just the people that are trying to implement it.
But don't you find it's really kind of inverted, because the agile movement by essence was to actually help people be more self-organized,
Absolutely,
make decision, and being more autonomous.
You want them to be self-organized, but you want them to absolutely have 3-week sprints and do a demo within that time, and and have everything that's something that they can show the client systematically at the end of every sprint. And if you don't, the product owner is going to complain, and it puts a lot of pressure on the team, which is not necessarily good.
And now
sometimes it's not. It just doesn't make sense to do a demo because you're not ready.
So
sometimes 3-week sprints are also very. It depends, you know. I mean, sometimes.
So that's probably why we have this overload of. It's failing, but
exactly.
Did they try it? Yeah, did they try? Because for me, like when I look back, I won't say that all my consultancy mandate went actually well. I have some failure. But I adapted an approach because I inspect and adapt myself and my team as well. And what we aim to do, without or not the oath of this Agile Agnostic, but the Agile Agnostic, it gives you 13 principles because that's always the thing. The 4 values of the Agile Manifesto and the 12 principles are actually the essence of how could you inspire yourself as a professional to create those patterns to be more efficient. And for me, after practicing Scrum since 1999, could you believe it? I was a Scrum Master back then, and it's like, one people the other day asked me like, have you go back to your team 10 years ago? And No, but they created something else. They are, especially those who continue on the path of that journey. But the thing is, I don't do training anymore. I do workshop. I do practical workshop with aids, with business model canvas, open space, like a beautiful white wall that you have behind you, and they have to draw it with our facilitation. This is the key. There's no Scrum team. There's no one size fits all. There's no Scrum team the same. There's no, and we call it Scrum, but who cares? Like a lot of people talked about the Spotify model nowadays, but it's Scrum.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Scrum to their industry, and yeah.
To give you an example, okay. For example, I led a large project with one of my clients 3 years ago. It was a project that was in recovery. It was doing really, really bad. They had a Scrum Master, a coach that tried to teach them how to run things and stuff like that. And they were really trying to be very, follow the principles and things like that. Due to they hadn't started with the basics, of just how to define a proper story and have it mean something to them and things of the sort. So when I picked up that project, the team was rebelling. They weren't happy. The velocity was shit. It wasn't very good. I'm sorry for using that word, but I know it's okay.
Oh, we could. At Dare Real Agile, you could do yes.
I'm in the proper space to be.
You're in the proper space. Well, you're live on LinkedIn, though, but LinkedIn, I don't
know. So in any case, any statistic you would have looked at, they weren't happy. And if you just looked at the morale of the team, they were very low. So, I mean, I said, let's scrap everything and just go back to the basics, and I worked with them for about a year and a half because it was a large project. And by the end, they were doing all the stuff on their own. I didn't even need to be there. The stories were well written. The sprints were running like magic. It was beautiful to see. Then I left that team for a little while, for about a year. And the organization introduced DevOps, and they put them into all kinds of different things and stuff like that. And I was just reassigned to leading another project with that team, with those resources. And all of the beautiful things that we had built were destroyed because they tried to bring them back into the core of what the mindset of what agility should be and stuff like that. But that wasn't working with them. I had turned them into one of the most, agile teams. I mean, in the true mindset of agility, like giving them the ownership of what they were doing, and they were really champs at it at the end. And now I find myself having to start all over. And I mean, it's cool, and I know I'll get through it, but they're very frustrated. And it's like if I'm starting from where I was 3 years ago when I first took on that project with those people. So,
what was the element that actually defaced them? Like, is it because the organization choose to? Because that's the thing I saw, especially the large scale organization. They think they buy agile, they buy DevOps, they buy lean, they buy safe. But safe actually is true. You buy safe. You are sticking.
Sometimes I think you don't listen. They don't listen to the employees. I mean, and they just try. Okay, like statistically. You have a 3-week sprint, and everything you're going to deliver within that time and stuff like that. And whether it's quality or not, you don't care. You delivered it. You got your little points, and your charts look good. But the team isn't happy, and they know that they're delivering shit. It's like, for example,
that's mean that okay. But whatever the length of the cycle of the sprint, that's mean that anyways, it's something like underscore that. If they deliver shit, it's because they don't agree on what should be the definition of done. Because for me, I could care less.
Done. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
That's one
thing. Because for me, a sprint of 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the team have to agree about their capacity of doing it. When you have a stable team of fixed members, sometimes, and if they're new to the Scrum way, or even the touch of Kanban in it, they're better, and especially in CI/CD. You talked about DevOps, is CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous development. The thing that they will have, who cares less about this? Those. What could you deliver, and whatever the capacity you have, the time you have, and then the velocity came an effect of it. If the velocity accelerates, like when you do a bicycle, maybe at the beginning of the season, you won't go to Mont Hartford on your first day claiming 900 meters inclination. You will start by, I don't know, you do maybe a run on Montreal, and then after, when you feel you're ready, definition of ready here, boom, you change it. And this is why I despise when I see coaches saying, like you said, oh, it's an average of 3 weeks, so let's do this. No. Of course, when you start, you should have longer cycle. Even in the DevOps cycle, let's say you have a drop. You have a drop every Thursday. But some of my teams will agree that, yeah, we could drop every week and continuous integration and development, right, with DevOps. So they don't have a sprint goal with a product goal and what have you. But the thing is, they will say, like, as we have new buddies helping us and we are implementing these new processes that we agreed together, let's not do drop until maybe the first month on that release, and then after we'll inspect and adapt. And then so this is why I think the future of Agile technologically, it's DevOps, with this mindset of adapting every time that we have to know each other, we have to know the capacity of each other. And when I say capacity, it's time, it's effort, it's knowledge. Because if someone is a rookie, he needs help from you, maybe, or from someone else. So that's all this kind of the other kind of set of tools, such as pair programming, that will help people growing up. Because if you as a PM and me as a coach, we work together and we assess a couple of teams, we might end up proposing a different model to test, to try. Yeah, for them to see if it's going on. And then, do you think, by your experience, that you saw too many manager or leaders asking you to do something in your project because they read something?
Every organization is different, okay? But in this case, we have product owners that come every day to the scrums. They have more than one product owner, first of all, because they have two divisions that they report to, which disrupts a little bit sometimes the scrums of the team. If we want to talk about something that's important, I think the product owner role is something that's not talked enough about, but it's one of the most important roles in the Agile world, because it's really key. If you have a good product owner, your team can do many things, because he understands well the reality of the client and also the reality of what he's trying to asking the team to do. I've seen good and bad, I guess, and sometimes they do play a very, very important role.
But the thing is, again, if we return to the basic, and I'm calling it a honor, because in open business agility, it's an honor, because we don't know if they have a product, a service, a solution, and whatever. So the honor of the drop load, the payload, because the result, what are you trying to deliver? What kind of customer you serve? So I'm agree with you on one part, that the owner is probably one of the key, most important person, because he will be the one, or she will be the one, bringing the vision of how we serve our client and our user. And it should be like very efficient like this. But if this work in small shop, medium, SME, enterprise, small and medium business, but when you go to where you and I work sometimes, these big corporations, public or private, the problem is there will be a lot of, there will be people who we tend to transform like a business analysis, for instance, into a product owner. But for me, a product owner or the owner, he should know. He should know more than enough about the technology or the whatever they use to produce the good, plus especially the experience we tend to deliver to those who will use that good, right? So for me, this is where I try to coach them and to make sure that they will have a learning process despite the certification, because certification will just give you about the role.
Certifications don't mean anything at all.
Yeah. If you don't take it as a learning experience and with other peers to confront your own idea of the thing, I mean, this 3-4 days boot camp of certification is worth nothing. Only the paper that you are able to pay for it, and that's it. But for me, this is why I said, like, when you do a coaching, like a very on-demand facilitation coaching, you could actually guide those people to at least have courses. If there's a certification at the end of the course, why not? It could help you in your career. We could agree on it. But the most important thing is, do you want to evolve in it? Are you at the right place? And when you say they disrupt the daily, was it like
they disrupt the daily scrums? Okay.
Yeah.
That's not.
But why? Because they should be. Huh?
I think one of the very important roles, okay, that you have to be when you're dealing with people, okay, is emotional intelligence. That I think some people just do not have it.
But what is emotional intelligence? Tell me.
What is emotional intelligence? It's being able to perceive or be aware, I guess, of how your actions are going to have an impact on the people that you're trying to do. It's about managing, controlling the way you feel or the way you express yourself in order to be able to not influence negatively, I guess, a relationship with your team. If you have someone that comes and is in a bad mood and he just shits on everyone and stuff like that and pushes them, you're not affecting or impacting your team in a very positive way. And I think in many cases, you'll see certain key stakeholders that should know better, but that don't manage that component very well, I guess.
So, but this is part of it's an attitude more than an aptitude, right? The emotional intelligence will unleash the consciousness.
It's an attitude, yes, but some people it's an aptitude because some people are better at it than others.
But maybe I didn't use the proper word, but for me, is it something that you have and you could develop by awareness? Because you mentioned,
I think it's something that you can develop, yes, but some people, it's more in certain people than it is in others.
Okay. Because will you say for instance that Steve Jobs was having emotional intelligence with his team and people? For what we know so far,
I guess he was a very charismatic leader. Sometimes he riled people up, but I think he knew what he was doing. He was doing it on purpose.
That was my question. Because
so you can say that he understood emotional intelligence and the triggers very, very well.
Because I went to a training. Was it last summer? Yes, it was last summer. With the psychologists. We were a bunch of Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Agile Coaches. It was supposed to be in San Diego, California, but unfortunately, we did it remotely last summer. And the training was, I don't know if you heard about the DISC system for development, intelligent, socializing, and communication, the DISC. You heard about it?
I have, yes.
And so you could do a test, and then you will have like a graph of consciousness, a graph of dominance trait, a graph of motivation, influence, insight on overview, insight on communication, insight on conflict. What is the trigger that will make you have a conflict with other coworkers and stuff, and the steadiness of evolving. But that was one of the key things that make me think, because as a coach, and put the qualificative if you want next to coach. I mean, Agile coach or whatever coach, business coach.
Yeah.
She was actually showing us that in every organization of any size, you have that kind of a risk of having this dark triangle. I don't know if you ever saw this dark triangle of behavior. There's one pathology in it that's at the base of the triangle, which is psychopathy. And then it's sustained by two types of behavior that are not a pathology, which is Machiavellism and narcissism. And she said that most of the entrepreneur that become the owner of the enterprise or any kind of manager, or they're not, she didn't even use the word leader, because that's the thing that but she said, like, those and with power and control mindset taught by our university, the MBA, just creating those type of behavior. So, and often when I go to this hotel to teach agility and to the master in business or other people in human resource and so on, I'm really amazed to see young and even older people that these programs in the university for business, especially for business, they are not in sync with all the innovation that you and I, as consultant, we help team and people and organization.
Yeah. And often I clash with that because, I come from a traditional business administration background. That's what I studied in, Alex. I worked in banking for 15 years before I became a project manager. And
Wow.
I was a director there. And I think I was looking for something different, and that's why I reoriented myself into project management, because I like the idea of projects, everything having a beginning, an end, and being able to work with people in order to deliver something that's concrete, But I think the human aspect, the behavioral aspects, all the psychology and stuff like that you need in your toolkit as a project manager or a scrum master are huge. You need to borrow from so many things in order to be able to deliver a project. And mostly when you're a consultant, you work with different organizations. Everyone has its own unique culture. I guess it's what keeps it interesting. But the work of being of leading a project, forget about, or delivering a project, forget about the title of who does it, is complex. When I was telling you about the project management office that I was leading, one of the key studies that I discovered about 10, a little bit more than 10 years ago when I was doing my master's in science of project management was this company called that did a report every year that was called the Chaos Report.
The Chaos Report, yeah, of course. And actually, the estate of Agile came from them. Now it's another organization. It's
something that I used to think was fascinating. And they used to diagnose when I did we did case studies on, people or large organizations that put millions and millions and millions of dollars in projects that failed, and you go back and you try to see where did we go wrong? What did we do? What could we have done different? Could agility help? Is the traditional project management approach not correct? Then you try to rewire things and you get the same result. Say, so where are we going wrong?
Yeah, I like that, but can I share something here? For me, like project management, I have nothing against it. And actually, the best project manager are those who are able to see what kind of tool they could go reach to help their project team, right? Whatever you have, but you need to have support. But for me, what I discover is, this famous VUCA stuff, the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, and the ambiguity. So if it's not created by the dark triangle that I spoke before and the toxic politic within probably medium and large scale organization with the ego of someone, not being in touch with what you talked before about the emotional intelligence and the awareness of how do you show up in a team or in an organization to make something. So this is all the power of the intention. I don't know if you agree. But beside that, if sometimes what I saw, it's the lack of this emotional intelligence. It's an equation I'm making right now. I'm just testing it with you. Yeah. Plus the not being conscious of your surrounding, of your market, of your user. And and probably I saw some students, especially students in the academic, that they learn something at school, they read a book, they go to a 3-day course of whatever, PMI, Scrum Alliance, right? And now they will put on LinkedIn, oh, I'm a Scrum Master, I'm a product owner. But they just been like 5 years in school through the master, and about 5 years in school, university, I mean, and then they will apply what they have learned without being aware. So I don't know if the equation of emotional intelligence, of to be aware of yourself, your own behavior, how to interact with others, and how to actually be inclusive. Probably it's part of this. When we talk about inclusion, is how we are listening before we talk. I don't know if it's all these threats of this emotional intelligent aspect, which is more like inner, and the other is, are you accepting other way, other perspective, and are you adapting yourself to all of this to make it happen properly? And for me, more the environment is complex, whether it's because of the market or the culture, or because of, as I talked before, these toxic people in the organization. I think you better get an agile mindset fast, not to be deceived, and because otherwise the failure, you don't learn anything. So because for me, that's what I see, and that's what we talk about with Daniel and others. It's all about, if it's complex, if it's chaos, the Stanley. You don't. I mean, for me, you could have the best PMO ever with the best project manager from the PMI. You have the risk of. It's the same thing for me, classical or agile. You have to be real open to any possibilities and to adapt continuously. But for that, you need the core of agility. So agility will help organizations that struggle with either one of these, either on the psychology aspect of it, internally, or what the environment outside is giving you as a challenge. What do you think?
Agility, yes. For your definition of agility, Alex, yes. Agility as per what some organizations are trying to push through, no.
No.
Okay, but as per the agile mindset of being able to be adaptable and finding the proper mix that will work in order to be able to get done whatever it is that you need to accomplish, I absolutely believe in. And that's why I think, all I know is that I know very little. I always have to, there's always new things, there's always new ways. It's one of the interesting things about being in our industry. There's so many things to learn, so many things to see, and you're like a sponge. You capture a lot of it, so good for you. But I struggle to keep up with all the new things that come up all the time, and what's SAFe all about? What's this all about? What's this all about? I guess it's one of the challenges of being in this role that we play. Trying to help organizations do things.
But again, especially us as consultants, we are sometimes being asked to do things. And to tell the truth, in the last 2-3 years, I did decline a lot of contracts based on these principles and values of the fact that I have a discussion with someone who would like to agilize his organization, they cannot tell me the core reason, the core why they will do this. And I thank you for the compliment, but I'm far away from being perfect. I'm still learning continuously. This invitation-based change, I kind of knew it from my enterprise Scrum movement of business agility. Daniel is one of the pillar of it back in the day. But for me, yes, I'm outspoken. I create this Dare Real Agile to have meaningful conversation like we have, you and I, and to bring a broad, real inclusion of different perspective and to what we do as consultant, coach, or project manager. Because I think like right now, a lot of people go virtual and they write paper, they write opinion and stuff. Okay, so that's all good. I'm doing it right now with you too.
Mm-hmm.
But what would be the proposed value out of it? Like, is it not to evolve and a big like because we talked about emotional intelligence, but I heard something else, the collective intelligence. I think is that the proper term? Because whether in French, English, or Spanish, I don't remember exactly, but I heard something like this: collective intelligence.
It could very well be. Like I'm reading a book for something that I'm doing right now that's a little bit different. It's called Conscious Capitalism.
So yes, from Anderson or Richard Barrett, which there's
it's the guy from Real. He has a food company, or he was bought by Amazon.
Yeah, that's it. It's Mr. Anderson. Yeah.
Okay. So either way. Fascinating guy, fascinating story, fascinating approach.
Mm-hmm.
It's about conscious leadership, conscious, I guess, not being only driven by profit, by being driven by wanting to do things that are good for your employees, good for the world, good for society, good for, consciously making the right decisions. And that is not something that's always... that's easy to do, but that's a mindset that's, I think, very, very interesting.
But actually, I'm glad you talked about it because in Montreal we have a great guy who, from that book of Thomas G. Anderson, I think it's unfortunate I got a book of him on conscious leadership applying it, because they start with the conscious capitalism kind of broad holistic perspective, but now it's really into management. And when you are like me, very passionate about business agility, I actually create an equation. It's business agility and conscious leadership. That's the two kind of pillar that any meaningful organization that have at heart more than the profit, as you mentioned, that would like to put people first. And when we say people first here, it's every people. It's your customer, your internal user, your employee. I don't like to say employee. I say more and more workers, or those who contribute to your organization. So, and there's the environmental aspect and everything. So yes, and I think that was the meaning of a couple of articles at the beginning of this pandemic, when especially the meaningful one in business at Forbes magazine, were trying to say like only the agile will survive. I think it's pretty much aggressive, but I prefer to say only those who will adopt agile or agility will be able to thrive in this new world that's unfolding before us. So yeah, I like it that the fact that you bring in and you read that book right now, because it's part of the future of work. Do you have a meeting?
Yeah, totally. No, it's fine. It's fine.
No. Anyways, so my friend, you see, a Scrum Master and a PM could have a meaningful conversation.
Well, first of all, I think that the role is so complex that we need to work with one another. And it would be impossible for me to be able to be just a Scrum Master. It's a very difficult role, and I kind of play at being Scrum Master a little bit in my projects, because I'm an Agile project manager and I'm given the mandate to lead Agile projects. But Scrum Master, with how many teams do they lead right now? About 10 of them and stuff like that. It's a very...
10? They won't have the attention to really help and facilitate, especially if...
I know, but sometimes they're given the mandate to have so many, to manage so many different cells or stuff like that. It's really not easy. I have a couple of them that I collaborate with, and they have their day by 15-minute increments planned. try to get 5 minutes with them. It's very, very hard with all the ceremonies and everything that they have to do.
But this is not. You see, this is not the proper way of enabling engagement and collaboration within people. Because if your coach, your facilitator, that we call a Scrum Master, because they mean Scrum, is not able to give proper time to an owner, a project manager, and any stakeholders for that matter. And the title, as you mentioned, I think the world of work right now not only will be more digital and virtual, but it will be also based on if Joey and Alexandre, I am not an agile coach, of course, because of LinkedIn and all those old mindset of putting a CV out there. We don't have choice to put a title. But the thing is, I saw in Europe more and more a CV, a resume, based on the skills you have and experience you have that you could bring to an organization. And I will say that goes for both permanent people and consultant. But for me, again, in the next 10 years, 75% of the workforce and professional services or specialized services will be a consultancy and entrepreneur. And it's because we need this kind of nomadic thing, because we will bring our expertise and experience and make them independent and then move on. So I think that will be the dynamic. This is my kind of futurology. It's going to be something like this that will unfold. So tell me, Joey.
Yeah.
Is there where people could get in touch with you? Do you have a consultancy website or something that they could be in touch with?
I mean, Joey Perugino on LinkedIn. I'm trying to put together a website. I have I guess a little group, a meetup that I did for a little while that I'm still doing now, but I haven't done it in a couple of
the Let's Talk Project Manager.
Project management, which just brings together everyone, Scrum Masters, project managers, and we just talk a little bit like we just did now. A lot of people are just trying to find their way. How do I become an Alex or a Joey? And stuff like that. And we talk, we give advice. What are the trainings that you could do? What are some of the stuff that you can that you should be looking out for? And basically, we just share experiences and things of the sort. I probably have to schedule one of those.
It's been a while. You didn't do this.
Yeah, just like your Scrum beer things. It's cool just to be able to get an opportunity to get together. I heard when you launched before, when I was in the background, we were talking about the fact that the one for September has been canceled. It's probably the right thing to do. I look forward to being able to get back together with people though, and exchanging and talking. That was really a great initiative that you had, and you probably got to do.
And we were sure. I mean, Anna and Elizabeth were so deceived because they are my main core that take care of these Scrum beer thing, both in Manhattan and here in Montreal. And they were so how do we go around with that, And I'm just sharing right now, Joey, your group. It's for people to see. Sorry for the Dare Real Agile Podcaster. You don't see it, but come into my YouTube. But for those who are watching live right now, we'll see the repeat. So that's your great meetup.
Yeah, and you've come many times, and people appreciate a lot having a chance to talk with you on a million different subjects. It could go anywhere, a little bit like here, because it's just true talk.
Yeah, and I love the fact that this is why I really appreciate you, because you have an open mind. I think you have the ability and the aptitude of bringing this emotional intelligence that you described us before, and this is why we need more people open on every side to really work in togetherness. I think this world of division, of duality, agile, I guess when I saw paper Scrum versus Kanban, it's nothing to do about it. It's not like PM against SM, or there's these meme we could laugh sometimes. It's fun to laugh. I mean, you have a project manager and your Scrum team, and then you see the guys from Charlie of the Chocolate Factory. Let's say, talk to me about it. It's fun. It's fun to laugh about it. Yes, of course. I know a lot of purists are there. A lot of people attack me of being a purist because of the title of my podcast, Dare Real Agile, saying like, "Oh, you implied that there's a fake Agile." Yes, it is, and there's probably fake project management as well. Because I remember I used to be also a project manager when I started my career, from being a CX designer all the way up to, but that's the thing. The engineer, they told me like, we don't need the classical project management because it's too complex. We don't know. We don't have a beginning and end because we do R&D with this software. So we need you with your customer experience managing and designer experience. And they hand me the book of Ken Schwaber and Mike Beadle, Agile Software Development with Scrum. Mm-hmm. They give me the engineer, the team that I was supposed to build as a PM. So this is how I became more a Scrum Master than a PM. But then after, you realize very, very rapidly that both of these roles have the same skill base of being a great communicator and be well organized. And I think PMI teaches us, right? And the PM book, organization and communication is 80% of the skills you need to be a great PM. Yep. So both they go that way. So for me, I don't care the title that you want to put me on, whatever. The thing is, I've got experience in these fields, these industry, and most of we are listening to people and their needs. If you don't pay attention to what they need, you are going to fail. Period. Because you don't deliver, you didn't listen, so they don't deliver like properly, or you misguide them. And you'll see, and one of the principles of the Agile Agnostic, it's exactly about this fact of be more intentional and making sure that you have an agreement on invitation. And I think people will have to learn to invite people instead of, as you mentioned, like
something that I've seen that a lot of, I guess, coaches try to do, to be invited to talk about something, like wait for the opening, listen more. These are, I guess, things that I need to work at because I probably talk too much. But we all have our things that we being aware is the first step, and after that,
exactly,
learning to listen, I think, is very key if you want to be
exactly
good at being a people manager, I guess, or stuff like that. Learning to listen is very important. Listening to the words and also the whatever cues you see from people, when we have
and
talk with them.
And if you don't understand, just ask.
Yep.
Instead of judging, and this is what people are going right now. And I mean, like a same debate. Like I don't like consensus because a lot of people are silent. They don't talk because maybe I could understand. Like probably like when we help team, you have people more outspoken than others. There are people that are more introvert than others. So for us who speak a lot, who are more extrovert, it's an effort that we have to make sure that we give the proper space to everyone. So it's something that's still my learning process. I know because and sometimes like I feel not the guilt, but I'm disappointed of myself. I said, I should have listened more, Elizabeth, or I should have listened more. And now sometimes I go back and I ask for forgiveness, and I said, like, by the way, I hear you. But I didn't pay attention that much. But now I think it's important what you were saying. So could you bring it back with the team and so on? So yeah, sometimes I do it.
Yeah, and it's the right thing to do. Recognizing it and being able to acknowledge that you that you didn't listen and that maybe you weren't as focused as you should have been. Is a sign of greatness as far as I'm concerned. Because not everybody can recognize that they make mistakes or faults or stuff like that. Yeah. But I think it's part of human nature. So it's normal to make mistakes.
And I had a great coach. I had a great coach the other day who ended the kickoff kind of meeting, preparing the value list of things for the transformation. He says, like, really important, guys, I told you what I will be as your coach, but I want you to tell me what do you expect from me as your coach, and let's put it visualized right now on the wall. And so I will reflect on it. And this is not just today as we kick off this transformation. It will be forever that we'll work with you for the next couple of months till you're independent. So that's why the power of retrospective and on the process and the human interaction, this is there for that too. Not to point finger, but to say like, yeah, you know, Alex, you were a bit too much in the last cycle about this and that. Could we? And of course, maybe before bringing it to public, having a nice cafe, you and I, and discuss about it and say like, oh, because it's one thing to be open to tune my behavior, but if you just smash it to me in front of a team of 10 people, and it's something that it's really important for you, now you just want to test if the other team member think about it, like, let's prepare yourself to it. You know, it's really, it could be more constructive. That's often what I do. So I start with a one-on-one, and then after, okay, so how do we share it to actually have the polls transparently, the polls, because I don't know if you side, like, a lot of people sometimes, you know, the management way, they will say like, oh, Joey, I have to see you in my office. Okay, you're going to. So, you know, we heard 3 out of your 5 teams are telling this about you and this and that. Yeah. Who says what for that, and what context? Do they know the context? And they implement someone from the PMO or the HR into this. And there's no value, because the person will feel more like attack or judge.
Yeah, and it's probably happened to you. It's definitely happened to me, and it's not pleasant.
Oh, it happened.
Know where it's coming from.
Yeah, and so that's, I don't think it's really constructive, because you cannot really tune your behavior, because after that you go out and you have 5 teams, 3 of them think you're a fucking loser, or you're just not good enough or whatever, but they don't talk to you open it. So, and even especially if you have a scrum team and you do a retrospective, nobody telling you any shit. They always vote that you're nice and you bring donuts, but yeah, donuts. So I mean, so that's, I think, like, we invite people to be frank. So what I do when I start a mandate, I always show what they should expect of a coach, like from the ICF, the International Coach Federation, that I adapt myself. And then after, so now tell me what you will expect from me and all these.
I think that's very good. I should do that when I start new mandates or new projects, stuff like that.
Yeah, this is the working agreement. The explicit agreement is part of the 8 patterns of open business agility. And by the way, I'm coming with a show on it to explain it a bit more deeper. Of course, I don't want to do the training that the open leadership and the Center for Conscious Leadership is also providing. But I mean, it's important to give free stuff to enlighten and spark the mind of people of actually doing something for the betterness, not just of the workplace, but the entire society. Because we are in right now, like, so that the centralized way in front of chaos cannot work. It will just work thing. So we have to be, because what work in New York might not work in Cincinnati, the same between France and Mexico. So, you know, and what do we see right now? We have a chaos.
What works in Brooklyn might not work in Manhattan and might not work in the Bronx. So sometimes you don't have to go very far.
I know. So that's the thing. Hey, Joey, thank you very much.
I'm very grateful for having had the opportunity to chat with you. It's always a pleasure, Alex. And, you know, I hope that we can connect and have that beer soon.
Yeah, but we aim for November, because we are creating something to gather people together with respect of everyone's choice. And so we'll keep you in touch. It's going to be on invitation only, of course. It might be, but we'll see. And but we won't return the Scrum Beer virtually, because it was nice. We did it like last year, but it wasn't that now. I mean, like,
it wasn't the same thing. You missed that in person.
Yeah, of course. But of course, people were excited because we had people from all around the world that could be there and stuff. So that's, you know, there's always benefit.
There's always a positive and a negative to everything. Exactly.
And I was exiled in Mexico, so I was like doing it in front of my condo on the Caribbean. So it was kind of nice and nasty for some who were stuck in the snowstorm here. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think like people liked it. I've got good comment on Meetup. But my team and I, we think like what we're gonna do probably if again this winter, especially this winter, it's continued to be kind of a sort of lockdown. I don't want to. So we might do at least the Agile Coach circle virtually, because right now with the crew collective, you could come in a one-on-one or a small group of 4 or 5 to have a meeting with me at the co-working space. But again, if you don't want to show the proof of your medical procedure, you cannot enter the cafe.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, so this for me is not a good guest experience. You know, being greeted by a security guard, asking you for a lot of things, as you are allowed to go to the co-working without going to the cafe and so on. So it's kind of for me, I said like, okay, I don't want to be extreme. I want to be respectful and open. So if I don't care about the number of people, it's their choice. If they don't want to show it, I know a lot of people who receive the procedure, they don't even want to have the apps for security purposes. So it's nothing to do about science, non-science, being for or being against. It's a lot, and we have to admit it. It's segregation. It's segregation, and it's out of agility. It's out of space. It's out of everything. I mean, like we should be more like when we talk about exclusivity. It's kind of don't you think it's all inverted? The same people who talk about diversity and inclusivity are the first one to be forward about like, oh no, you should like exclude those people from sports and this.
Yeah.
Didn't you say like?
I'm just looking forward for all of this being behind us. I don't think we'll ever get back to a normal like we had it before. But,
did you like it? Did you like the normal before?
I like being able to get together with people and not have to worry and things of the sort. And I want to go back to a world where we're not afraid again. We can just be.
And we respect each other.
Exactly.
Despite we don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
And community out there, we just saw it. The greatest PM of Canada and the greatest Agile coach of Canada. We could talk on a Friday noon.
Yeah.
So stay there. I'm going to close the show. Stay there, my friend. Yeah. So my friend, my jogger out there, I hope. Whoops. So I hope you like this Agile Agnostic conversation, honest conversation with Joey Perugino. And next week, the 17th, we don't know what we're going to talk about because let's be agile. We are going to refine our backlog of subject. And again, in the comment below, please tell me what topic you would like us at the Friday Live Agile, as well as the Dare Real Agile Podcast, you would like to hear about. And of course, I'm coming this year with 2 Fridays in English, 1 Friday in French, and 1 Friday is for the recording of the Dare Real Agile Podcast like we do today. So don't forget to subscribe our growing YouTube channel, and hit the bell to receive notification. But you could rest assured that every Friday at noon Eastern, 11 Central, 5 p.m. UK, and 6 p.m. Europe, we are here at the mic with or without guests talking about meaningful tips, tricks, and subject, editorial or not, about business agility, conscious leadership, and sometimes, yes, Bitcoin and the blockchain protocol movement. So thank you very much, guys, and have a nice weekend. See you next Friday.